Hello and welcome to the Beyond Surrey podcast. My name is Adam Gorry. I'm the head rep of the Department of Music and Media, and I will be interviewing today Annie Smith and Mimi
Hemchaoui.
Thank you. Hemchaoui, about their experiences from before to beyond Surrey, and all of their creative endeavours that happened in between. So, Annie and Mimi, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Wonderful to have you. So we were just talking a bit about your previous experiences in Stag Radio and all across of the university. But first of all, I want to start with what your earliest experiences in life were with creative experiences and endeavours, because it all starts somewhere. We never just arrive at uni. So I'll start with Annie. We'll just go alphabetical, I guess. What was your earliest defining moment, would you say?
That's a big question. And I asked my dad this on the way over, and he was like, yeah, what was it? And I was like, don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think I always wanted to be in a band.
Mm-hmm.
And I also liked having lots of different hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
So I just cycled through them until I hit radio, my community radio station at home. And then I stuck with it. Huntingdon, yeah. HCR 104 FM. Check it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, I just did more and more. And I think when I did more radio, I did more music. And then it was like, what to do at uni. And then ended up on the Tom Meister course here at Surrey. And then it just seems to spiral, really. So I don't think it was it was never a conscious decision to do it. It was just, I followed things that I enjoyed. And then, yeah, ended up on your podcast, basically.
Gladly.
Gladly, yeah.
So how early was that experience with Huntingdon?
So when I joined the community radio, I was 14 or
Mm-hmm.
15, and they had it was called the Student Zone. It's really trendy. It was on a Sunday afternoon, and we just played music that we liked,
Mm-hmm.
and we played games that we liked for 2 hours. And then once I got a bit older, I went on to the local music show, and we would interview live bands and they would perform live in the studio. And that's when I first started getting into if I put this microphone closer to the guitar, it sounds nicer.
Mm.
And then when I came to Surrey, I was like, I'll do Stag Radio, where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
And then, now I'm at BBC Radio.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, it's all a bit mad, to be honest. I feel like for a lot of us that have graduated, it all just feels a bit mad because
Mm-hmm.
you don't know where you're going until you get there most of the time.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's true.
So where did the madness start for you?
Oh,
Maybe.
right, actually. We were actually talking about this the other day. When I was younger, I used to write songs with my mum.
Mm-hmm.
I was explaining to Annie over dinner. Once we wrote this song about a little bat learning to fly. It must have been 4 or 5 or 6. And we found my mum had written out the notes on a piece of paper of the song. So I think I've always been interested in music. My dad isn't so musical, and neither of my brothers or sisters, apart from one of my brother. He's really good at guitar and drums, and my mum was a really good cello player.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I've always sort of had a vague interest, but where it really started was when my friend's family, I had this friend at secondary school called Sophie, and her family went to a music festival every summer for the whole weekend. And once we figured out we had the same taste in music, so she invited me along with her family for the whole weekend.
What taste was that?
It was just indie,
Mhm.
obviously, just indie bands. I remember the year that I went, I was 13, and Bastille were headlining, and one of the security guards gave me Bastille's set list, and I was convinced that Dan Smith, who is the lead singer, had trodden on it, and it had his footprint on the set list. I'm not sure if it was his.
Could have just been the security guards,
It,
but I
it
won't
could
trust
have
its
been.
ring.
I mean, it could have been, but I don't know. But I remember at the end of that weekend, I was just like, oh my gosh, I want to do this the rest of my life. And so I knew that I wanted to pursue music, but I wasn't really sure how. And then, just growing up in bands, producing music at GCSE, in Cubase version 5 or something like that. And that kind of spiraled from there.
So did that become a dream job, or was there a dream job beforehand you had that changed from it, or was it more sort of just a direction?
I knew it wanted to be music based, but I think I didn't really have an interest in being like star of the show performer. I like to perform, like I like writing music on guitar and piano and stuff. But I always knew I wanted to be involved, but I didn't really mind how, and I was always really interested in maths and physics and engineering and making things work and like building things. So I think sound engineering was kind of the natural sort of marriage between those two things. Yeah.
Was there a dream job for you, Annie, or was it the same sort of
me found this out
transition?
today.
Yeah.
But up until the age of 8 years old, I was determined to be a vet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really, really wanted to be a vet.
Yeah.
And then I think this was when I was younger, like me cycling through hobbies. I then wanted to be an architect, and then I wanted to be this. And then I've ended up being a sound engineer. That was a great decision, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I don't know. I think for you always knew you wanted to be in music. And for me, I always liked music, but I liked a lot of things. And it's just, whatever took my attention for the longest. I ended up staying in, basically.
Well, until 15, I wanted to be a Lego designer. So
really?
We all
That's
started
great.
somewhere, and then art GCSE just kind of panned, and I was like, well, what else can I do? And then
What did you picture designing? What were you going to make out of Lego?
it was just like designing sets. I fancied doing
Right.
like all of the sets, because I was like, I always built weird stuff as a kid, and I was like, it would be nice to do that on a scale that actually gets me a house. Maybe a big Lego house I could build for myself.
Huge Lego.
But then my I had some problems with art GCSE, so I was like, I'm gonna do whatever else creative is available here. Unfortunately, we had a half decent music department, so I just jumped straight into that because my form tutor, Mr. Smith, big up, was
Not my dad, not related.
Oh no relation. Surprisingly, no. But yeah, that was a good time, and then I ended up here. I fought for that, but that was a good time.
My friend actually, well, he's not really my friend, someone I know, is
Acquaintance.
Savage.
Sure.
Someone from Instagram. Is a Lego designer. Actually.
No
Dream
way.
Really?
job. Yeah, landed a job at Lego design. He pitched something, like a new Lego toy or something, and he got a job like designing for them.
Does he look like Adam? Is it Adam's identical twin?
Honestly, not far off. He's just got much shorter hair.
Okay, well, we'll talk afterwards, and I will have those details. I'm begging
Give
you.
you details.
Did you receive any particular like resistance or support from different people? Because obviously, pursuing creative stuff, you often find that some people are very open to like taking the almost non-STEM route as like, yes, like up in arms, like don't go down the beaten path, and other people going like, oh, that's very dangerous. So like, was there any of that you received?
Yeah, I mean, my dad is an engineer, so it was always like, and also I think most parents would, like, they, as much as they want you to pursue the arts, like, famously it doesn't pay very well, and all they want is for their children to be self-supported, and so my dad's happy for me to do it as long as I could support myself in another way. And so, like, he was always supportive of sound engineering. I don't know why. Because it doesn't necessarily have a reputation of being super money bags. But yeah, I think, I don't know. What about you?
I think my parents were slightly skeptical. Like, they always wanted me to do what I enjoyed, but for a while I thought of doing straight music, and they were like, oh, that's like,
Yeah, me too.
that's lovely, but like you hate practicing piano, and like you're gonna have to do a lot of that if you do straight music. And I think my sister's very academic, and she's a lawyer, so, and because she's older, it was always quite like, oh well, you know, could you do a degree that's quite a bit more vague than sound engineering, and then still be able to do that as like a hobby or like a side project to give you the flexibility that if you get older and you decide you don't want to be a sound engineer anymore, you have like a foundation in a wider range of things. And I do get it. Like, at the time I was like, oh my god, this is so unfair. But I do get it. I think I would probably give the same advice.
Really?
Well, I think as a parent, like you said, I think you're nervous. I think
parents are naturally nervous, but I think since going through you know, the steps to becoming a sound engineer, the younger you choose your niche, the more successful you will be. earlier on in life.
That is true, yeah.
Because if you pick like a vague subject, but you have the idea of going into something really specific, they're going to pick the people who to do those jobs who went for the more specific thing. At least that's what I think. So I don't know, but I think there's a lot of pressure to put on your child. Like, you must know what you want to be by the age of 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that in schools a lot. Like, there's very limited scope for what you can do in choosing. Like, I was never suggested really to do music until I started taking music, and they were like, this is a route, and I was like, but all of the people in the like expo hall said that I could only be like a, you know, journalist or something as like an employee, where I'm not really having much creative control. It's always like doing something for someone else. And then as soon as you can have a bit of agency over yourself, as soon as you like get any opportunity to have agency over your own work, then you're like, I could do this. Like, what's stopping me? Like, as long as you have sound engineering as something that you can, like you said, fall back on, then you can use that to do what you want in your own time, because you can make space for the things that you want to do while still learning how to improve that thing in your main sort of employable career. That's how I sort of see it. How do you sort of see that? Do you find time to do a lot of personal creative stuff with PuzzleCat?
Yeah, actually, I'd say.
I think we both keep quite busy. So Mimi and I live together, and we don't have a TV. And like, obviously we watch stuff on our laptops and stuff, but I think we find that like,
I mean, we'd love to have a TV, we just don't have one.
yeah, we love to have a TV, we just don't have a big enough flat. But it means that we
fill our time with other things.
Yeah, neither of us are very content with empty space. We're both quite like, we like to be busybodies. So we've ended up like picking up different hobbies that aren't related to music or sound engineering. But it kind of balances out then how much time we spend on it, because we're not doing it all the time.
So with the creative, sorry, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, like after work we get home and we're like, what should we do after dinner? What should we do?
We mainly watch Drag Race. That's our current
currently.
Good show. With what was the next question I was going to ask? Oh yes. So with creative versus like creative work versus creative hobby, obviously you even had like Cloud 6. How did that come up with the little garments fashion label?
I've always been interested in making clothes since I was small, like just as a creative hobby. And during lockdown I really got into it because I had a lot of spare time, and Annie was like, oh, like I would love to photograph it and we could do it together. So I'd like make the clothes, Annie would photograph and like handle all of the sort of public facing aspect of it, and we just ended up selling them for a while during lockdown because I don't know, it was just something that we both enjoyed doing. I think it was just a creative outlet for us, and I think that was the first time we worked together properly on something. It just works, I suppose. I
think it was good because it was like both of us quite project based people. Like we like a project and doing everything for the project.
We like to commit to stuff.
Yeah, commit to stuff, and we, as Mimi said, it was COVID, it was lockdown, it was like a lot of time, and it was like, oh, we should quite like to learn some new skills. And then like anything to do with Adobe just went through the roof. Like even like anything to do with Instagram, the amount we learned about it was kind of scary when you know the amount that it can do. But it was really good because it was almost like a test run for PuzzleCat. It was like us figuring out how we work with each other and like what we each bring and how we balance each other out. And I think one of the hardest things when you work with people is just if someone does something like you don't like or don't agree with, like the honest communication to be like, I'm not sure that's the best idea. And because we've worked with each other so much now, we're just like, no, I don't know if that's the one, babe. Not sure if it's that.
You know.
Yeah, taking criticism without it being so personal.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the thing. You have to put your like ego sort of below what's like the best for the development of the project. You know what I mean? And you learn that over time. But about Cloud 6, I think that's when we really got into graphic illustration as well, because we'd never done that before. And that was kind of like a big part of the brand, was like this sort of like anime, sort of cartoony.
Yes, it was very visual, a lot of sort of pastel blue and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Like Ali said, like exploring like Adobe Cloud and sort of just getting to know. The more tools you have, the easier it is to be a creative, I think.
How much does that still inform stuff you do now? Like, because you obviously do audio visual work at all.
Yeah, we use Adobe all the time. Like, if you're producing a video, you're always going to need, like, something's going to need a logo, or they're going to need lower thirds, and those kind of graphics sort of elevate your work and make it more of like better production, like more high value. So, for example, if you're doing like a live stream, you're going to want graphics to like fade in and out of that live stream, as I'm sure you know. It's just about learning more about all aspects of production in order to make it as high quality as possible, I'd say.
And I think, like, although foundationally we're sound engineers, most of our work is videography. And with Cloud 6, it was all about like how it looked, and just, it's like when we were learning sound engineering, you're training your ears to know what sounds good. When you do graphic design, you're training your eyes to know what looks good on a screen and stuff. So I think it still informs massively the decisions we make when we shoot videos and stuff.
Definitely. And it's good to have both perspectives, to know how, like, for example, if we are sound engineers with a video team, it's great to know what your video engineers are thinking, because it just makes for a better working relationship, and it makes you more, I don't know, sort of employable as a sound engineer. But yeah.
So with your projects, you've experimented on a lot of projects, like there's been Stag Radio and Cloud 6 and PuzzleCat and other ones that I've got listed here. And how do you choose what to engage in? Because I imagine stuff comes up like it has for me, where there comes a point you've taken on things and you go, actually, like, this is going to impact my other work. So how do you decide what to work on and what to maybe pass up?
For me, I have 3 criteria, and as long as it feels 2.
Go on.
I don't know if I've spoken about this with you before. I think I learned it from another engineer that I worked with previously. It has 3 criteria, and if it feels 2, then it's like worth like doing. So one of them is how much do I want to do it? Like, is it something I want to do? Is it going to be developmental for my career? And C, is it going to be, like, is it a worthwhile amount of money to do the job, even if I don't necessarily want to do it that much? And if it feels 2 out of 3 of those criteria, I think a job is worth doing. Right. Essentially.
We should write that down.
Yeah, I don't think I've told you.
Where's my pen?
But yeah, what?
Well, from now on, we're just going to follow that.
The triangle.
I think for me, it was always say yes to everything. If you can do it, do it. And I think that only because we work full time alongside doing PuzzleCat stuff, we're lucky that the biggest constriction on stuff we do is just time. So as long as we have the time, we'll try and do it. Because I just think, while our careers are quite a high priority for us, just say yes if you can. Just say yes to it, and don't figure it out later. Sounds a bit blasé, but quite often you can make stuff happen.
Yeah, say yes now. Like, don't be afraid to say yes, even if you're not 100% sure that you can do something.
Yeah. That was something that I had last year, which became a mantra for me, and then a problem, and now is no longer my mantra in a way, because I took on loads of stuff and I did so much. I accomplished so much. It was great. I produced live from Surrey, and I did like 4 positions for Stag Radio, including the marketing and events and whatnot. And I had like head rep and course rep, and I was doing performances and other stuff. And I just genuinely probably worked from about 9 a.m. until 2 a.m. most days and just didn't stop. And it was when I realized that it was not actually doing so well for me. Like mentally, I was just like, I haven't like socialized or enjoyed myself really. I need to like stop that. And then I just started doing other society stuff only when it felt like it was good for me. And I think that has helped me stop feeling burnt out, because if it's not enjoyable, then sure, the work may help you, but at the end of the day, if the work is going to become your life, then you're not enjoying it, and I don't want to not enjoy my life.
Yeah.
So have you felt burnt out at any particular point where you had to rein in work yourselves, or have you generally been good at
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that everyone gets burnt out from at some point, and then it's just learning from when you get burnt out. It's like, I probably won't do 3 gigs back to back again.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably not worth it. And I think we're quite disciplined now. Like, we know if we're very strict on our calendars. We love a calendar, color-coded calendar.
Holding our lives together.
And we know that if we've had these things planned in, that we need to keep these days free to relax, catch up, just do like washing, cook like actual meals and things like that. And I think that's only something you can ever really learn from being burnt out.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, do it, do too much work, do too many gigs, get burnt out, and then learn from that, and don't and manage your life around it, and it will just like make you more professional.
Grind set.
Yeah.
I wake up every day at 4 a.m.
No, I mean, I used to go to work at like 10. I don't anymore.
So early.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like you go to work. Like, it's okay to start work at 10. You don't have to wake up every morning at 8. As long as it gets done, it's good quality.
And we had quite a good in our final year at Surrey. Any money we made from PuzzleCat, which was like our side hustle, because we're freelancing anyway, doing uni, and
you've
then
got, like, student loan as well.
Any money we made from PuzzleCat went into a holiday fund, and we just booked holidays from it.
Nice.
To Paris.
And it kind of meant that we
I did see your Instagram looks very well travelled. I was thinking, how explains it.
We love a holiday.
Yeah, we love a holiday. And it's when we do like a big project, we will celebrate it by going on holiday with the funds the project's paid for.
I remember last January we did like 3 days of filming in a row, and then the day, was it like within 24 hours we were in Hungary?
But I think it balanced it out really well, because you work really hard, but when you've got something to look forward to,
it's worth it.
I don't know, you always have a smile on your face because you're like, in a week I'll be somewhere else.
We love to travel.
So I think planning's a massive thing in order to not be burnt out, and always having something to look forward to helps with the burnout as well, because you know in your mind you're not like, oh my god, when is this pain going to stop? You know that there's going to be a time where you're switching off.
Like even people who go on tour, like they tour all summer or like maybe all autumn, and then they'll have like 3 months off. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not working constantly every day.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was something that Ed Sheeran had said, or whether my dad just pointed it out after he noticed it, but it's like Ed Sheeran basically does like a year of writing, a year of touring, and then a year of just like absolutely nothing and just doing travel and raising his kids and all sorts of just fun stuff. So
But I imagine like you get bored after a year of anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is good.
Thank God this Masters is short.
That's good stuff.
So you also did the placement together at Guildhall. How was that? And you're still working there even now. You've gone on to do more stuff there in new positions. So.
It's massively changed since we were there. In a way that it's just, the great thing about Guildhall is just they were always looking to be the most like at the forefront of AV. So they wanted to be the most innovative department in, like, they are a department for a conservatoire, but they're very much like a production company in their own right, which is great. So yeah, I really love it. And working for that taught us, we were speaking about this earlier, that it taught us ways, I think it really set us up well in terms of workflow and approaching, so like someone comes to you with a brief for a production, how you would approach that from the ground up in order to make it work as efficiently and, you know, as high quality as possible. And a lot of those techniques we learned from our placement year at Guildhall, from the people that we were working with.
And I think it's why you're still like that. Like you said, it's changed so much, because they're always pushing
like to evolve,
for the next thing, and like, okay, well, this year, like, what can we do that we didn't do last year? It means that like it's changed massively from our placement, and it's a great place to work.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's really good.
And they've all been so supportive of us, like
especially like they'll let us borrow gear whenever we want to, if we need to, and you know, they're just like, oh, buy us a beer.
Sure. And when we were getting to the end of our placement, we wanted to do a project to bookend the year. So it was our first technically PuzzleCat production.
Right.
But at the time we were called Ginger Beer.
Oh.
Yeah, we were called Ginger Beer Productions.
That was taken though.
Yeah, and then a few months later we realised someone else was called Ginger Beer Productions. And we couldn't be called that. But we just said to the manager there, Julian Heppel, we were like, can we just have like 2 weeks to like plan, produce our complete own project?
They really care about your career development.
Yeah.
They want you to be sort of as autonomous as possible, which we really loved. And so they just let us like plan our own project for 2 weeks, and they let us just be the technical producers across all of it, as well as be the creative producers. So it was us basically proving what we'd learned throughout the whole placement and doing a live stream. It was called like Guildhall Live Lounge.
Yeah, and we did loads of graphics for it, which came from Tab 6.
Yeah, we did animations as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I forgot about.
it's a great place to because we were obviously quite young and like at very early stages when we both did Guildhall together, and everyone there was so encouraging and like, you want to do that, like sure, go and learn sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it helped us massively, I think, to where we are.
So what did you learn from having the opportunity to create basically a culmination of everything that you'd learned to put together and do that? Because 2 weeks is still like a very short time to do something as a big production. So
it was 2 weeks at the end of a year of learning though.
Right.
So we'd sort of learn the systems throughout the year, and then the little bits like animation and graphics was sort of a YouTube tutorial job.
I see.
YouTube is your friend.
The best place.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite depressing when we log on to YouTube now, because it's not like, when it suggests you videos, it's not like fun, interesting videos. It's like how to colour this in on Adobe Photoshop. I know. You're like, great.
And even sad part is like, I was like, oh god, I'd love to know that.
Yeah. So our whole
it's
YouTube
not like
is
cat
tutorials.
video compilations and Vine compilations.
Unfortunately
and
not.
Smash and all that.
I wish it was.
I wish it was.
YouTube's not what it used to be.
No, it's changed massively. Has that changed your approach to production at all in terms of like posting stuff online where you?
Yeah, you have to adapt to social media nowadays.
Yeah.
And the format of like a lot of companies when they're doing marketing. I remember the marketing companies, the marketing teams, they always ask for in portrait and
landscape.
Exactly. Because they want to post on social media, and so they need to adapt to those formats. So like if you're producing a video and you want some like snippets to go with it, you have to be catering towards that audience, and you just know what looks good like on your feed. Like no one wants big like black cropping lines.
Yeah.
So I mean,
now you're still doing PuzzleCat and you're still doing Guildhall. You've just left the Roundhouse as well.
Yeah.
Doing studios coordinator there. You've also won BMP Location Recording Prize.
Yeah, that was in 2020. That was a prize that Surrey did.
Right. Okay.
For second year Tom Meisters. What did I do? I found these people on Facebook. They're a choir. Annie came with me actually, and they did Christmas carols in a church in Covent Garden. And we made Aidan, our friend, drive through the middle of central London in this van, and we recorded it, and they were the most lovely people ever. But
It was really funny because like the sat nav was going like turn left, and Aidan was like, well, left is like the actual Covent Garden, and you were like, yeah, just turn. I'm
like, I'm sure it's around here somewhere, and it was in the middle of Covent Garden, and we just hadn't really realised. But they were so professional and so lovely, and yeah, I was lucky enough to win that prize in second year.
Is that still available to listen to or watch? Because I'm obsessed with Christmas.
Yeah, it's on their website actually.
Oh really?
Yeah.
PuzzleCat.
No, their website.
Oh, okay.
What are they called? The Elysian Singers.
Elysian Singers.
Yeah, shout out Ben Driver. We met him. I'd never met him before that day, and we're still friends on Facebook. He's always like, come to my concert, and I'm like, okay.
Do you go?
No, I actually don't. He lives in Petersham. They're always a bit too far away.
Right.
He's a great singer though.
And so as well, you're now working for the BBC, Annie. as a previously AV engineer and now studio director for BBC News.
Yes.
How is that, and how did that come up? And was it linked to a post on Instagram I saw about you being at BBC Introducing?
No, it wasn't. I've always, from when I did community radio, I was always like, oh, one day I'd like to work for a big radio station, which obviously BBC have quite a few big radio stations. So I went to a few of their events, and throughout, from when I was probably 12, 13, I'd applied to the BBC for summer schemes, not been successful, and then when I left uni, I went and worked for an outside broadcast company for the summer, and then I applied to be a sound operator in TV, and that was my 7th time applying to the BBC, and then I got the job.
Wow.
And then after 5 months of doing that, I applied to BBC Radio and then got a job there. So yeah, it's great. Took me a while to get there, but I'm there now. So yeah, I work in the news factual department. So we direct shows like PM with Evan Davis or World at One with Sarah Montague and things like that. So it's there. A lot of Radio 4 or World Service sort of lunchtime and evening shows where the news is, everyone goes to the radio for the news updates. And yeah, I'm sat technically in the big chair.
Was it the same position you applied for each time, or was it different ones?
Different ones. I think I've always, when I left uni and I went into outside broadcast, I thought that was the job I was going to stay in. I thought it was the job I wanted, and I think I realised that I was learning a lot from it, but it wasn't totally the thing for me. So then I genuinely just started applying to anything and everything. And the first job I got in TV was all in the language service, so it was working with content where you don't know what they're saying. And it was really interesting. And then this other job came up, and I was like, all right, I'll try that. And that's where I am now. So I think for me, it was just just trying lots of things, seeing what sticks, seeing what I enjoy.
Throwing everything at the wall.
Me, every time I say to Ruby, I've got news, she goes, new job, is it?
There was a joke that you'd had 3 jobs in 6 months when we first moved to London.
Really?
Because you'd gone from junior sound engineer at CTV and then to sound engineer in TV at BBC and then studio director at BBC 4 within 6 months.
This is currently my longest job.
Yeah.
So
Which is?
Studio director for radio.
How long?
Since March.
I feel like Peacocks in Huntingdon was longer.
That's true, actually. I did work there for a while.
How long is it EMG?
Yeah, so EMG I did the cricket season, so I did about 4 months with them. And I really liked the work. I learnt loads there, but it was a lot of travelling around. And I think I realised that I quite like to have a base. So that I didn't leave because of the work. I left because of the lifestyle. I think it just didn't. Yeah, I just struggled a bit with it really.
Is it London you live in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is living there?
I love it. I don't know about you, but
yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I don't know. We're quite lucky in our area. It's quite trendy.
It's a nightmare to rent in. It's a nightmare to move to.
I mean, our flat is tiny, but we've made it cozy.
Does it make opportunities easier to reach being in such a busy environment?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And it's we'll go to a lot of music gigs and stuff, and you meet people and they're like, oh, we're looking for someone to film this, and we're like, oh, that's really interesting because we actually film stuff.
Or I remember sometimes being asked oh, can you do this gig tonight? And it's oh, of course I can, because it's in London and I live in London.
Yes.
Yeah. So if I finish at midnight, I'll get back home for 1 or something. But if you don't live in London, your last train, it's going to be a nightmare. So being in London's beneficial.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier to just say yes to opportunities that come up.
Yeah, last minute, which is good.
So with freelance versus employment, what do you get from one that you maybe don't get from the other, would you say? Because we spoke earlier about the creative stuff that you get to do. Is there anything particular that you're now pursuing with PuzzleCat that you haven't done in your employment? or studies?
I think with PuzzleCat we really like to focus on live music sessions,
Yeah.
and both of our employment, like I work in news, so I don't do that much music in my job, and you're with music but more like classical jazz.
Yeah, a lot on the jazz scene at the moment, and some film as well.
Yeah. So I think with freelance, because we have the safety blanket of being full-time, it means that when we decide what to do with PuzzleCat, we can really push for things
that we want to do.
And that we're like, oh, this is something we'd like to push our portfolio in and develop in and things like that.
Yeah.
Which is why it works so well working full-time.
Yeah, I remember there was opportunity like a while ago for us to sort of pursue some avenue with PuzzleCat, and whilst it would have, made us money as a company, we ended up not going for it, and being full-time employed was very useful because it meant we didn't really have to, like, we could make the company what we wanted it to be and not what it had to be in order to survive, if that makes sense.
And I think that means that we still like enjoy
what we do,
like PuzzleCat, because we don't have, PuzzleCat isn't our financial fund thing.
Yeah,
it's not a necessity. Yeah,
exactly.
It means that we don't have to pick up gigs that we're like, oh, actually that's not really our thing or really what we wanted to do.
Yeah, it's more...
You can be more selective. Yeah.
And also exploratory. Like in last January, we did behind the scenes filming for this artist who was doing her EP, and we'd never done that before. And even though we'd never done that before, it was an opportunity. Like, we could say yes to it because we wanted to, not because we had to. So that was a really good thing to have, and that's it's good to have it. Like having a production company as well kind of makes, I'd say, it makes you feel a little bit more established. As an entity, because we could say, oh, we're Annie and Mimi, and then it's like, oh, Annie works for BBC, Mimi works here. Like, what, like, who are you together? And then it's like, you kind of know who PuzzleCat is. I think
it's also, as soon as you say to someone like, oh, here's my website, they're like, ooh, you have a website? It's like best thing we've ever invested in a URL.
Genuinely, and you really forget, like, if you're meeting new people and networking, you really forget what you've done. Looking back, and then having a portfolio to sort of exhibit that is really useful, because because people see that and they're like, oh, you've done this, this and this, that, therefore I know you will be capable to do this project that I need you to do. So
how much do you seek out opportunities versus like getting them in? Because you said obviously like early on you asked to do that very first one. But then since then you're getting asked to do stuff even like on random evenings with a day's notice. Like, do you often seek stuff out now, or is it you get opportunities offered to you now that are more what you want to do anyway?
I think I can be quite sneaky. Like, like if I catch wind of a project that I think might be interesting, I'm sort of like, oh,
put your foot in the door.
I heard you talking about this thing. I'm just wondering, like, have you thought about like video or anything like that? And they're like, oh no, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Sometimes it's like that, and then sometimes it's just like, we'll get emails in our inbox like, hello, can you do this?
I think it's like because I think sometimes we forget, like, we only graduated a year and a half ago, and like since then we've both changed jobs, we've both moved to different places a few times, so we almost haven't had enough time or energy to like send emails out to people that we'd want to work with, be like, hey. But I think that's something for this year coming up, probably trying to seek out more, because it's not that we don't want to seek it out. It's just it's been crazy. There's been no time.
Life gets in the way.
Yeah. But I think we just talking to people, like Mimi said, like that, like so many people have so many different projects. So just talking to people like at our works or on gigs that we go to or whatever, and just telling them what we could help them with. Is probably where we get most of our jobs.
And then once they know you, they'll think of you. They won't need anyone else if you do a good job.
Yeah, and a lot of projects we've done, it's like, oh, you did a project for my friend, and my friend recommended you, so could you do something for me? And then once you start building that like spider web, it just like expands. and then you kind of forget how many contacts you've made.
And then you end up interviewing graduate tonmeisters.
Precisely.
How did I get here? But I'm enjoying it. So, of all of the experiences that you've had, which would you say maybe is your most most important, or that you're most proud of so far, doing audiovisual and all of that?
You go first.
Good stuff.
I think I look really fondly on our like earliest projects, where
I was
like
thinking that too.
we hadn't had much experience, but we were like just saying yes and then figuring it out, and it's we just had everything was covered in fairy lights
Well,
and
such-
plants.
I know the feeling. I've done the same.
Yeah.
Just had ideas.
Very lights and festoon.
Yeah, we just had so many ideas and we just threw everything at it, and the excitement of like when you watch and hear things back and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe we did that.
We had this vision for one of our first music videos that we did, where it was like a TV screen filming and on the TV screen, like an old like CRT TV, was the singer of the band, and it would like whip from the TV to the singer who was actually there. And we actually executed that.
Yeah.
Just like feeding it with like another like terrible camera or something that we just had.
And it was the do you know John Priest? He's the technician.
Yes, yeah.
It was his TV from his family's kitchen.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And we were like, look, John, we've got this idea.
Uh-huh.
Do you know anywhere where we could borrow a TV for a few hours? And he was like,
Oh, I could bring one.
yeah, I could maybe bring one in. And it was just stuff like that, because at the time we were at university and it was like options were endless.
Yeah.
And it was just, if you want to do it. Like, our ambitions are through the roof. And we didn't have, because it was when we were first building our portfolio, we didn't really have anything to compare it to. It wasn't like, we think this was better than we've done before or worse than we've done before. So it was just complete freedom of no pressure, just go out and create.
It was just funny, and then we watched it the other day and we were like, I can't believe we put a TV screen and then did this like wild whip pan like across. So, but yeah.
And then,
If it gets a notice, then anything
exactly,
stylistic.
But
And then I think like we did like a few big like financially paid gigs. And then that was when we really felt like we'd hit the jackpot. And those gigs as well, they were a lot more pressure because there was like a paying client and things.
Are those the ones with, is that Sunmade, or is that just a thing that you're doing on your own? Or
No, so Sunmade is a not-for-profit one actually. We filmed, I can't remember what the school was called. It was in Cadogan Hall.
Something Academy, Reed's Academy.
And it was their like end-of-year orchestra. So it was a full few thousand audience.
Yeah. And someone recommended us to film it.
Full orchestra, full soloist. Like, we hired a freelancer to work with us.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, we really can't mess this up.
Yeah.
And I think, like, although it was, like, a lot of pressure, the excitement of, like, you know, we're officially professionals now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also great.
No, that
moment.
was really good. And especially the one we did in January with Zeta. That was really fun. Because, we got, like, it was residential, so we got to stay at the studio that they were recording at.
All right.
And her mum was there, and her mum was lovely, and then her producers were also really lovely. So it was just like a nice day of meeting people and sort of working at the same time. It doesn't feel like work when you're having fun. So yeah.
So as we come towards the end, with PuzzleCat and both individually, what things do you see in your future that you might go in the direction of? And it may even be that you are open-ended, and that's fair. I don't know what I'm doing in 6 months' time, 8 months' time. But do you have a particularly concrete plan, or do you have ideas? What are you looking to explore next?
We've got some stuff in the works to do, quite a few live music videos next year. So if that comes through, that would be great.
I think it's scary because I think once you say it on your podcast, Adam, it's like it's down in stone.
Then you look at PuzzleCat.
You heard it here first, people.
But I think
There's potential.
we discussed.
Don't steal it, please.
We discussed doing PuzzleCat full time straight out of uni,
Yeah.
and we said no, we're gonna get experience
Mm-hmm.
from like institutions, and then eventually we'll hopefully come back.
Yeah.
So yeah, end goal, PuzzleCat full time.
Yeah. Definitely.
In terms of time frame of when we'll get there, I think we're both quite open ended. Just see what else comes our way.
Yeah. There's no pressure really, because I think we both want to learn as much as possible, because that can only benefit the company
Yeah.
in time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, quite like that. What about you personally?
Like I said, I don't want to say it on a podcast because
Fair
I
enough.
have to hold myself to it. I think so I'm a studio director currently in radio. I think I would like to be a director in TV at some point. I've kind of always been interested in doing it. The live from Surrey's and stuff. When Susan used to direct, or I think Francis directed one, Cousins, when I was here.
Yeah.
I was always like, that looks like a cool job to do.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe on the horizons. But I think I've realised from leaving uni and swapping jobs quite a few times, like often what you think might be the dream job isn't when you get there. So it's just keep trying, and sometimes you can outgrow jobs or your life changes and your job isn't what you want anymore. And I think just being flexible with change and embracing change and just honestly see what happens.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
What about you personally?
I've been thinking a lot about playback recently.
Mm.
I want to do some live music playback, and it's mostly because it's what I like most about sound engineering is you have to be creative with your technical knowledge, and all of the playback engineers I've seen, they've all got their own like personalized rigs.
So what is a playback engineer?
So well, not just playback, but like backline tech. So they're the people that if you're doing like a high production show and maybe the singer needs their lyrics on an auto cue and they need to hear like playback in their ears, but they also need like tempo and like count-ins to when the song is going to start. They're the people that engineer those rigs to make that like viable for a live show. And because they're like, I think every rig is unique. Like I've not seen one that's the same. Like there's no standard for it. You're kind of just making it up. And I think that would be quite challenging. And I've been making a lot of jokes about it, but it's always been in the back of my mind. Like I'd quite like to do playback. And my friend, we were working together the other day, and he showed me this app on his phone. No, not on his phone, on his computer. Called,
Oh God, that's
Your
so
mistake.
different.
It's not doing playback for his phone.
We'll cut that, it's fine.
It's not pressing play on his like Spotify. It's an app within DAW software called Setlist, and it has like you make macros on your keyboard, so when you hit shortcuts it plays from the top of the songs that you put on your set list, and you can set it to play from like pre-chorus 1, chorus 1, and it's like so simple, but it blew my mind. I was like, people are
I
so
feel
smart.
like you really enjoy the like software that's very efficient.
Yeah.
You love like a logical, efficient rig.
Yeah. When I was working at the Roundhouse, me and my manager, we used to spend all day thinking about stuff. Like we used to call it chin stroking. Like we'd have chin stroking sessions in the morning, then we'd get a coffee, have some lunch, and then like execute it in the afternoon. It was great.
Is that a paid position I can apply for? Chin stroking?
Actually, when I left, they made my counterpart full time. So, unfortunately,
I've got a big beard as well.
I know.
This.
You'd be perfect for it.
You should still email in. You'll be like, look.
Yeah. Hey, I'm on the bars, please.
Yeah.
I don't want to be working there for the rest of my life. I'm begging you.
Talk to Jack in the studios. You might be able to sort you out. But yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming today. This has been very revealing and very enjoyable. You can follow Annie and Mimi at PuzzleCat Productions on their website. We will all link that down in whatever description this platform it is available on. Thank you very much for joining. Wish you both the best for the future, and see you next time on the Beyond Surrey podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a wave at the camera.